There was a person once I've met. So today we're going to break down an incredible story of financial transformation. And this isn't just about spreadsheets and numbers, This is a blueprint for how one person clawed their way out from under a huge mountain of debt and, in the process, totally changed their life. Let's dive in and see exactly how they pulled it off. Okay, so it all started right here with this one number, $50,000. Now, for the person we're talking about in this case study, this wasn't some abstract figure. This was a real constant weight on their shoulders that shaped every single choice they made, every single day. It was the reason they couldn't even think about the future, because they were barely surviving the present. And this feeling, this is what finally made something snap. It was that classic, crisis moment at the kitchen table, just staring at a mountain of bills they were too scared to even open. That feeling of being completely and utterly trapped, that became the catalyst for action. There was no going back. All right, so before you can even think about a plan, you got to have that moment of, let's be honest, brutal, uncomfortable truth. In that no more hiding, no more avoiding, in that laying every single bill out on the table and finally getting a clear picture of where this $50,000 hole actually came from. Yeah, and what's so powerful about a chart like this is that it tells a story, right? This wasn't one single bad decision. It was a whole collection of them. You've got the big one, credit cards, just racking up interest from living a life they couldn't quite afford. Then the student loans, the good debt that still has to be paid back. A car that was way too expensive. And even a personal loan just to go to a friend's wedding. Every single slice here represents a habit that had to change. Okay, and this is the math that just makes your stomach drop. After taxes, their income was $3,250 a month, but look at this. Over $1,400 was just going to the minimum payments on all that debt. Another $1,760 went to just the basics, rent, food, utilities. That left $85, not for a movie, not for savings, for everything else. This wasn't living, it was a debt spiral, plain and simple. So seeing that $85 number, that was the real breaking point. It was that sudden, terrifying realization that they were actually going backward every single month. But that panic, it quickly sharpened into focus. It was time to stop drowning and start fighting back with a real, concrete plan of attack. So the plan wasn't just spend less. No, this was a full-on, four-pronged attack. First up, the debt avalanche method. Why? Because it saves you the most money on interest by hitting those high-rate credit cards first. Second, an aggressive push to increase income, because they knew just cutting coupons wasn't going to cut it. Third, radical expense cuts to free up every possible dollar. And finally, the golden rule, the one that holds it all together. Absolutely no new debt. Period. It was non-negotiable. Okay, so with that plan locked and loaded, the real work started. And this wasn't some quick fix or a clever life hack. This was a 3-year gauntlet. It was all about sacrifice, intense focus, and an incredible amount of discipline. Let's break down how this journey actually played out. And you can really see the journey breaking down into 3 totally different phases. Year 1 was the grind, and believe me, it was a grind, all about just building momentum through pure willpower. Year 2 was about finding a sustainable rhythm, and Year 3 was the finish line, that final accelerated push to get to zero. And that first year, it was just brutal. No other word for it. Imagine this. You finish your 9 to 5, and then you're out there driving for a rideshare or staring at a laptop writing articles till 1 in the morning. It meant selling stuff you loved, moving, saying no to friends over and over again. It was exhausting. But it did one incredibly important thing. It proved the plan could actually work. But then, in Year 2, you can see things start to, click. A rhythm starts to form. The side hustles became more like real businesses. Systems started to replace just pure effort. And notice this mental shift. It went from feeling deprived to feeling empowered. That's huge. And that jump in the credit score, that's the outside world starting to notice the change that was happening on the inside. All right, year 3. This was the final push, and it was all about acceleration. Every bit of extra money, a promotion at work, a tax refund, these weren't treats. Nope, they were missiles aimed straight at that remaining debt. And then came the biggest, boldest move of all, selling that expensive car, that symbol of the old life, and using that $5,000 to just completely wipe out the final balance. And then it happened. After 3 years of just relentless head-down work, the balance finally hit zero. But hitting that goal wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a brand new chapter, one that was all about freedom and possibilities, not anxiety and limits. I mean, look at this transformation. It's so much more than just the money, right? You go from that constant, low-level anxiety of being trapped to feeling empowered and flexible. This wasn't just about getting out of debt. It was about getting the freedom back to actually make choices about your life, not just about your bills. And this right here is the magic moment. That $1,625 that used to just evaporate every single month paying for the past, it's now this incredible tool. It was immediately flipped from servicing old debt to building a new future, completely changing their financial trajectory from shrinking to growing. So, what can we all learn from this incredible story? Let's boil it all down to a few key lessons that you can apply to your own life, whether you're staring down a mountain of debt or just trying to get ahead. One of the biggest takeaways here is that, cutting expenses is important, but the real game changer, it was increasing income. That's what made the huge difference. This journey also proves that debt isn't just a math problem. It's usually a symptom of our habits, and maybe the biggest lesson of all, the sacrifice sucks, but it's temporary. The freedom you get on the other side, that's permanent. And this concept right here, lifestyle inflation, this is the key to making sure that freedom sticks. It's that trap we all fall into. You earn more, so you spend more. Think about that promotion in year 3. It would have been so easy to just get a nicer car or a bigger apartment, right? That's the trap. By consciously deciding to use that raise to destroy debt and then later to invest, they broke that cycle for good. In the end, this whole thing was never just about the money. It was like a 3-year masterclass in discipline, in resilience, in proving to yourself what you're truly capable of. The real prize wasn't the zero on the bank statement. It was the person they became to get there, the discipline, the confidence that comes from doing something you once thought was totally impossible. So look, this story is more than just inspiring. It's a blueprint. It proves that any mountain, no matter how big and scary it looks, can be climbed one intentional step at a time. It really just leaves one question on the table for all of us. What's your first step?